Hello and welcome to the Hockey Players in Business podcast. Co-host Dave Tackus alongside me, Kevin Henry, and our special guest from the Cleveland chapter, Tyler Dalton. Tyler, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, you have an unbelievable voice for radio, bro. I love it.
I
Telecasting the whole
appreciate
deal,
that.
man. Let's go.
But just ripping through things, I'll go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves and how long you've been around the game of hockey.
So my name is Kevin Henry, and I'm the executive director of Hockey Players in Business. I won't get into the details of my background. We're here with Tyler Dalton today, of the Cleveland chapter. Tyler, tell us where it all began for you. Where you're at now. Are you still currently playing? Who your employer is, what you're doing for a living these days.
Yeah, excited to join you guys. Pumped just to be a part of this, be a part of the Hockey Players and Business Network. And beyond that, I mean, we just keep doing cooler and cooler stuff. But for me, it all started at Shaker Heights, Thornton Park Arena. I don't even know how old I was, but maybe 4 or 5 years old. Joined up with the local Mighty Mites team. Did the Learn to Skate program. Was working with Coach Bartley, who has an unbelievable hockey career or coaching career here in Northeast Ohio. I think he's still the most winningest coach in high school hockey history. But got to learn from him from a young age, and then kept playing at Shaker. When I got to high school, I played at university school. Played there for all 4 years. Following US, then went to go play juniors. So played for the Chicago Junior Bulldogs, played in town here for the Cleveland Junior Lumberjacks, and then eventually wound up at the University of Michigan at Dearborn. So played there for 4 years, graduated just like every other kid in juniors, a little bit old, but had plenty of experience to be able to make an impact in the professional world. And kind of cut my teeth for a little bit with Rob McKinley over at Cohen and Company for 4 years in our management consulting group. And then actually met my current boss through a Hockey Players and Business networking event. And now I work at Called Capital, where I'm a senior associate, working on everything from private equity deals, real estate deals. We've also got a sports and entertainment arm that I'm heavily involved in. So doing a lot of cool stuff, getting exposure to a lot of fun things. And that's kind of me in a nutshell right now.
And Tyler, you obviously run a very successful and very active chapter in Cleveland, which is the chapter I'm closest to as well. So I'm around it a lot. We look back to earlier this August with the second annual golf outing, huge success. Kind of just talk about, how that got started and how much that means to the community.
Yeah. I can't believe it's already been a month. I actually look, starting a golf outing is nothing unique. But I think having people who are invested and people who want to make a difference, but don't necessarily know how to, and just kind of donating in kind with their time, helping run successful events, helping organize things, helping, bring prizes and things along those lines, are kind of what makes that event successful. But it actually started at the Columbus chapter golf outing 3 years ago. I brought my planning committee, my current planning committee, actually. They stuck it out with me for the last 2.5 years. I can't believe it. So brought those guys down. We joined Kevin for his first golf outing down in Columbus at Bentry. We had an unbelievable time. As casual golfers, we had all been to golf outings, but I just think, what made that event unique was you saw the local organizations, you saw the local teams, you saw the local ASHA presidents, and you got, I don't know, Kevin, 120 golfers to show up for your first ever golf outing. And on every other hole, you had a team that was there telling you about why what they're doing is important, or not for profit that was important. So, the inspiration for our event really did pull from a lot of what Kevin did at his event. It really was our inspiration. I mean, I don't think that we've hit that mark yet, but I think that we're building. I've got a number of great guys right now who are heavily involved with the golf outing and a handful of other events that we do. But man, it's a huge undertaking, and Kevin, I'm sure you can comment on that too, man. But it's pretty cool to see it all come together. And you just work your tail off for a month, just trying to figure out every last detail, make sure every prize is right, make sure that everybody's getting their at least their door fee back in value. And then all of a sudden, after a 4.5, 5 hour round, it all just disappears. And like the group chat's gone. me following up about prizes is gone. Like like I got to go take those guys to go actually golf together as like a thank you. So yeah, man, that's kind of how we got started. That's where we are today. And it's not an event that's going away anytime soon. I mean, it was so cool. This year we had the Cleveland Rocket Wildcats as a part of our event. And actually a cool anecdote that I haven't shared with anybody yet, but as a part of the funds that were raised through that event, we actually got to buy every single Cleveland Rocket Wildcat player a brand new jersey this year. Yeah, pretty sweet. Like that's a big expense.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, the fact that we've got that on there is it's really cool, man. So when we get to the tournament and see those guys rocking those jerseys, I'm going to be really, really pumped. And it's just a cool thing for the Cleveland chapter to look back at and say, hey, we did that together.
Just real quick for those that don't know, of course, Dave, DT, and I are both very familiar with that organization. But who are the Cleveland Rocket Wildcats?
Yes, the Cleveland Rocket Wildcats are our local American Special Hockey Association chapter here in Cleveland. They play out on the west side. I believe it's at the North Olmsted Ice Arena. But Julie Nader and her entire coaching staff do a phenomenal job with that group. I actually was introduced to them as a competitor. I was coaching a youth team, and Rob kind of brought it to us and said, "Hey, is this something that you think the boys would like?" And we're like, "Yeah, of course. This is really, really cool." And I think the kids at the time were in 6th or 7th grade, but for us, we were playing, our regular lines. We've got our goalie in there. We're getting the guys going, the whole deal. And then, you show up for the opening face-off and it's 5 against 40. You're like, what did we just get ourselves into? So that's how I got introduced to the group. Kind of a funny story. I can't believe I just remembered this. There's on the opening face-off, this guy walks the draw on our center who, by the way, like he's going to play junior hockey right now, like good player. He wasn't given in either. He walks the draw, he goes around our D, and then he goes bar down on a goalie who actually won the state championship at St. Ignatius, DT. So he scored that goal on Dom Filzetti. I don't know if Dom will remember that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really
That's
cool,
crazy.
man. It was a great moment. And it's something where, you go out, you skate against this team, you understand that, although there's some form of disability, at the end of the day, these kids, these adults just love the game of hockey. And you see the feet hit the ice and you see the smile. And that's all you need. Like, it is the coolest thing. And then he's doing a drive-by on our bench. Like, if he had a water bottle, he'd be squirting at us. Like, it was just awesome. The coolest thing, man. So, but yeah, they're our local ASHA chapter here, and Julie and her team do such a fantastic job, and they're looking to expand too. So we're pumped.
That's great, man. And that was the benefactor of your golf outing this year. Is that correct? That's who you were raising the funds for?
Yes. So, since I've been the chapter president, it's been about 3.5 years now. Most of the events that we've done have benefited ASHA, specifically the Cleveland Rocket Wildcats. It's an organization here in town that, quite frankly, I think that, they do some of the best work in town. They're one of the best run organizations, where every single dollar is going. They're responsive, they're courteous, they say thank you more than any group I've ever worked with. It's just a delight to work with Julie and that entire team there.
That's awesome.
And you mentioned working with ASHA and more specifically the Cleveland Rocket Wildcats. Big factor where that comes in is the annual tournament every year, which kind of Rob helped start, but I feel like you've kind of stepped into that role as the Cleveland chapter president. And Kevin, I know you've been there the last couple of years, as have I, and it's just a really fun weekend for everybody involved. Just kind of talk about what that means to you guys as well as the Cleveland chapter.
Yeah. So I'm 30, all my buddies and I get back together, once or twice a year, whether it be from college or high school or whatever. And, we'll go take a trip, or we'll do, just something in town, whether it's grabbing lunch and then going out, or grabbing dinner and then going out after, just meeting up for beers. The Hockey Players in Business Tournament is that on steroids in a condensed period of time with your 120 best friends that you've never met. I think that what we've done in just 6 short years with that tournament is truly incredible. And DT, I know this is probably the kicker here, but just want to throw it out there. We raised $120,000 over the course of 48 hours.
Yes, we did.
That's insane. Like you don't do that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So like what it means to me is that all of these ASHA chapters are funded. Our local chapters are funded. These kids and adults who, maybe historically haven't had the opportunity to be a part of a team, to understand camaraderie, to understand teamwork, and to, just build those precious memories together. They get to do that because of one weekend a year. And that's just the coolest thing in the world. The other thing that's interesting, and Rob mentioned this to me a handful of times, but in terms of the pecking order from a donor perspective, it's hockey players in business, it's Alexander Ovechkin, and then it's the NHL. Never in my life did I think that I would be ahead of those two things, but like here we are. So it's pretty cool, man. We bring in 120 skaters all throughout the U.S. Not every chapter is represented, but man, it would be cool to get everybody from each individual chapter across the U.S. to be part of it. So that's our big goal. I think eventually we'd love to get there, but for right now, we've got a really great thing going. Everybody's playing 4 games throughout the weekend. Everybody's got a great networking opportunity. There's a competitive spirit out there that just sort of makes you feel like you're back on the ice playing against the buddies, and Tepper's flair sticks are checked. It's great, dude. I love it.
And you mentioned the Tempers. Was it your team last year that got a little bit of a scrap in the third period?
Yeah, we might have had an issue. I might have been a part of that. Nothing too bad there. No physical altercation by any means. And what I think the cool part about that too, a handful of our guys got into it with another team, and it is what it is. We're playing hockey, but at the end of the day, we all remember that it's for charity. That night when we went to the banquet, I was sitting there with 2 or 3 of the other guys who were on my team, and all 3 of us were, more or less involved in that. Not only did we go grab a beer with the other guys on that team just to go hang out, have fun, introduce ourselves, actually get to know each other, and not just know, hey, you're 14 and white. I can't believe you did that. We actually built a relationship. And I just think that's cool. Like, that's the hockey community. Like, you want to go out and compete. You want to go and give everybody your best shot. At the end of the day, we're all competitors, right? Like, we all want to win. But I don't think in any other networking group in the world would you be able to have Tempers Flair and then sit down for dinner in a couple short hours. Like, it's cool. It's really cool. So yeah, that was us, DT. Thanks for outing us.
Yeah, and I was the other team, DT. So we're both on the same call here. But again, yeah, competitors on the ice, and that's the nature and the spirit of all of us as individuals. And I think at the base foundation of this organization, that example is spot on to what this organization is. That's why this organization works. That's why the networking works, because we are all so like-minded individuals. We're certainly competitors, but we also understand that we're all there for a bigger reason, and the reason's bigger than us. And that's what hockey is. What's good for the team is good for us, and it's always something bigger that we're a part of. And we just have our small place and as being a part of it. So it's a great example.
Yeah, and like we've kind of mentioned, I've only been here since December. I've worked the tournament past couple of years, so I've been around it. But very fun weekend for myself. Obviously not playing, unfortunately not yet. I'll get there someday, and
yeah, you will
put a couple more goals in than Kevin. But I remember the first year I was working it, and I was talking to Rob, and he's like, because I'm doing the PA announce, he goes, "Don't worry, there's not going to be that many penalties." And I remember last year it was about 5 in one game, and there was just full of 3 goals scored. So, the talent isn't quite there, but definitely a very fun weekend, nevertheless, for everybody involved.
It's the best, man. It's the best. And hey, by the way, like, if you haven't been to the tournament yet, just book it now. Just, get the hotel room, Put it on your calendar. Just book it. You won't regret it. It's the easiest. I don't even know what we charge, but it's not enough. It's the easiest $200 you will ever spend, ever.
It's the best bang for your buck and I mean, we're biased obviously, but it's the best bang for your buck from a tournament perspective for an adult tournament, with also it being for a nonprofit, and we're raising money for a great organization, the American Special Hockey Association. Always last weekend in April. Ice is at Gilmore Academy. There's always a big banquet on Saturday night. We get former NHL tough guy Reed Lowe to come in, and he's the auctioneer and just auctions off a slew of awesome prizes, golf trips, expensive bottles of bourbon, rare bottles of bourbon, signed Gretzky jerseys, Ovechkin jerseys. So it's a hell of an event. And if you can make it, strongly recommend. We'll have that registration probably up come the first of the year.
Then we talk about looking forward to the rest of the year, just more Cleveland specific. Obviously, we have the big tournament, but just looking ahead for Cleveland the rest of the year, what big events do you have planned?
Yeah, so we've got nothing that's been announced formally yet, but we're working on a number of different events. So, I know today there was discussion about having the Cleveland chapter play sled hockey against the local organization here in town. They actually work with the Cleveland Monsters, so trying to find our way out to Rocket Mortgage to go play that scrimmage against them. So that's one thing that we've got in the hopper. The other, and another item that we're working through with USA Hockey, so the rivalry series is happening again. And if you're not familiar with the rivalry series, so it's the U.S. and women's Canadian national teams kind of use this as a tune-up for whether it be the Olympics or just the big international tournaments that are upcoming. So they'll do scrimmages throughout the U.S. and kind of do a circuit, and they'll reach up into Canada too. But Cleveland, Ohio is actually a destination. So we're currently working on doing kind of a two-part event. The first day would be like a kind of a roundtable discussion with a handful of the women's players and even a handful of people in the hockey ops group for both the U.S. and women's teams. And then the next day, we'd actually be able to go out, watch the game as a group and just sort of, spend the time networking, spend the time building shared memories, all that kind of stuff. But the thing that, I think is interesting here in Cleveland is that, it was just announced that we're going to have a WNBA team. The PWHL, by all indicators, is performing really, really well across the board throughout the U.S. And I'd love to see women's hockey here in Cleveland. I think that it's got a real opportunity. We have a number of Olympians who are from Northeast Ohio who played on the women's national team. And anything that we can do to support them bringing a PWHL team here would be unbelievable. And then just beyond that too, I mean, I've got a personal tie to the team. Layla Edwards is a young rock star here in Cleveland, Ohio, from Cleveland, Ohio. I think she's like a 3-time national champion at Wisconsin. So she's on the roster this year. Her younger brother, Colson, was on my little brother's team growing up. So I know the Edwards family super well. I know Layla Edwards pretty well. So, would love to have her come and speak at some of those events and kind of be a part of the movement to bring hockey here to Cleveland. I think it would be really great for the community. And, quite frankly, I think that women's hockey is sort of an underserved community, whether it be in Cleveland or, we look at the Midwest or even just nationally. There's a number of outstanding women's hockey players. There's a number of outstanding women coaches. And it's something that we need to expand on, not just as a networking group, but as a sport in general. So that's the one that I'm most excited about. And then lastly, in February, we're doing our Rink of Dreams skate. And for anybody who hasn't done that, I think the record for selling out an event is like 23 minutes, and it happens every single year when we announce this event. It's pretty cool. We've got 20 guys on both sides. You get to skate for 90 minutes at Rocket Mortgage. You kind of get a tour of the underground, see all the locker rooms and all that sort of stuff. You go skate for 90 minutes and then, you get showered up, you change back into your work clothes. And then, we get a little suite for everybody to network and, watch the game. make connections, again, build shared memories. That's kind of what it's all about. So those are the three things that we're working on right now. But, I tell everybody that I meet who wants to be a part of Hockey Players in Business or is a part of Hockey Players in Business, there's no pride in authorship here. We just want to make sure that we're running great events. We're running meaningful events and, events that make an impact. So I'm all ears to any new events that people are interested in hosting here in Cleveland. And, maybe one day, Kevin, we'll be able to have our chapter square off down at Nationwide.
Maybe sooner than we think. I think Brandon is working on something for the spring, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
And just kind of end off the show. Probably a lot of guys currently watching this, or girls watching the podcast right now, who maybe aren't a part of Hockey Players in Business. I guess this can go to either Tyler or Kevin, or both of you guys can answer. There's one thing or two things you could say to somebody watching this who's on the edge about joining. Tell them why they should join.
Kevin, you want to take that?
Yeah. I think that you get access to, first of all, it's a $50 donation. It's a tax deductible donation. So you're supporting a great cause that allows us to put money back into the community. We 4x'd the dollar amount that we collected in funds last year, and put 4x that amount back into the hockey community across the country. We are changing in the communities that we're in. We're working with organizations in those communities that we know we are having direct impact. A lot of the organizations that we are working with are not padding their bank accounts. They are using those dollars and they're turning around and using them, pretty quickly. So we're also giving, I think, a bridge to a lot of the organizations that we're partnering with to the greater business community in those areas that we have chapters. There are a few people that know what ASHA is outside of ASHA. There are a few people that understand what the sport of sled hockey is outside of sled hockey. So those organizations that we're partnering with are extremely internally dependent upon whomever's involved. So a lot of times they're running 50-50 raffles, or they're running raffles, and they're the ones that are supplying, the raffle basket items. And we are that bridge to the greater hockey community and then the greater business community within our chapter. So that alone, I think, is an awesome reason. And there's also the social aspect for it. Hockey is, for as much as I think a lot of us are naturally kind of extroverted and we have that ability and we want to hang out and enjoy being a part of the locker room, within our communities, it's still very fragmented. You have different skill levels. Maybe you're in a city or a region where all the rinks are independently owned and operated, so you don't know the people at the other rinks, or you play on a Tuesday night and then whatever, you don't ever meet up with the people that or meet people that play on Thursday night, whatever the case may be. And to me, that's the exciting part about this. That is what are those unknown potentials and those unknown opportunities that we're not even tapping into. But I know for a fact that those individuals are probably really similar in nature and character to the person that I am. So that's what gets me excited. I have conversations with individuals all the time as well who, maybe they're a first responder or they're a stay-at-home parent, or they're, a teacher or a college professor, and they've said, why would I join this? It gives you access to the business community. Those people, those individuals are still all consumers, which makes them business minded to a degree. And they still need, they still need accountants. They need financial advisors. They need people to come and, power wash their decks as an example of businesses that exist. So being a part of that, why wouldn't you want to support someone that's in the organization and that loves a sport that you love and is passionate about a sport that you're passionate about as well?
To piggyback off what you said there, Kevin, I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you mentioned. I think the difference between Hockey Players in Business and any other networking group that I've been a part of is whether I've met you or not, we have shared history. Whether I have any idea where you skated or not, odds are we've had the same locker room experience. We all tell the same crummy jokes. We all like having a good time. You just know what to expect when you sit across the table in any setting with a hockey player. And at the college companies, we want to do business with like-minded people, with people who we'll call our friends, because it's a lot easier for me to call Kevin and say, hey, Kevin, you and I have been skating together for the last 3 years. We're working on Hockey Players in Business together. Hey, you guys dropped the ball on X, Y, and Z. We're going to figure this out because we're friends and we've got this history with one another. But I can't do that with any other service provider. I can't do that with somebody else. So I think that's super impactful. I also think too, when you think about this great game and you think about everything that it taught us from the first time that we laced up the skates, teamwork, camaraderie, all of that directly applies to what you go through on a day-to-day business perspective. Like it just does. There's so many tough conversations you have to have on a day-to-day basis. You've had a coach tell you that you screwed up before, or if you've been a coach, you've had to tell somebody that they're not doing what's expected of them. So for me, when I think about this networking group, I've said this a number of times and I'm going to keep saying it. The best people I know in the Cleveland business community are part of Hockey Players in Business. I wholeheartedly believe that. The resilience that you have to form to be a high level hockey player, the ambition that you have to have, even just to play at the high school level, it's truly unique. I respect every other sport and I respect the grind that they have to go through. And I'd never, ever, ever minimize what an athlete goes through. But there's something special about, going to the rink at 6:15 in the morning for a skate that starts at 6:45. You're 6 years old. Your dad just spilled coffee on his pants and he doesn't want to lace up your skates. And you have to figure it out. That's a silly example, but I just think that, there's just so much that this great game teaches us, whether it's how to interact with other people or just being resilient. There's no better place for hockey players than Hockey Players in Business.
That's
Yeah,
well
we
said.
like to say Kevin, I guess, invented this, but we're just scratching the surface, really, of what we're capable of doing. Obviously, we raised $120,000 at the tournament this year, and with just over 1,000 members, we like to say, imagine if that's 10,000 members. Imagine how high that number can get. So if you're on the fence about joining, please do. We do a lot of great things over at Hockey Players in Business, like Kevin and Tyler had just mentioned. But we'd love to have you. We'd love to welcome you with open arms into our community.
Definitely. Yeah. Hey, how cool is this? DT, what do you do for a living?
So right now I'm technically, for a living, I guess you could say, I'm a part-time student, and then the other 50% of my time, I guess I spend a little bit more time on my actual job than school. Don't tell my mom that, but I'm a freelance sports broadcaster. So I do play-by-play broadcasting for my high school, the St. Ignatius Wildcats, and just made my TV debut with the Rock Entertainment Sports Network this past Saturday. So that's where I spend most of my time. So great. It's always fun. And it's just a pleasure to be around sports and really just kind of make that my job. And hopefully I get to pursue that in my actual career.
Yeah. And Kevin, what's your background? What's your background? I know it, but tell everybody else.
A hockey background. I am a true,
professional. Sorry.
Professional. Yeah. I've always been in project management and process management. I've worked for several Fortune 500 companies. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
So the reason why I asked you guys that is because, normally Kevin and I might interact with one another, right? Just naturally, but DT, I wouldn't have any idea who you were, and Kevin wouldn't either. But again,
Correct.
This game brings great people together. And if that's what you're into, then this is your group. If you want to have great conversations and you want to be excited about what you do after work, or you want to find a way for your company or for your personal self to get involved in something that's meaningful, there's no better group. And don't just ask Kevin and I and DT, ask the 1,000 members that we have. There's a reason why our retention's so high. There's a reason why our events are well attended. People like working with hockey players. It's the best, man. It's the best. So sorry, I had to throw that in there because I think it's really cool.
No,
there's no setting in the
great
world.
example. That's a great example. Yeah. And, I also think, you could call out the ages here. DT, are you 18 yet?
I'm still 16. I turned 17 this October.
So still
DT.
16. Tyler, I think you've already said here that you're 30.
Yeah.
I'm 45. So to me, that's another example of, you know, you're not normally going to find the three of us individuals on a call together,
Yeah.
interacting or working together. But yet here we are, and that's all because of Hockey Players in Business. So there's whether you are mature in your career or you're just starting out or even in college, there's plenty of opportunity for you. If I was back to my college days, I would certainly seek out an organization like this. I would get over any intrepidation or nervousness about joining a networking organization like this, because there are tons and tons of people out there that are already members that would love nothing more than to answer questions from those who are just starting out on their career, and maybe even offer some mentorship opportunity as well. So please consider that. And if you are more mature in your career, you can always teach an old dog new tricks, and there's always plenty of opportunity to meet new people out there.
Well said. I think that'll do it for our first episode. If you currently aren't following us on our social medias at HPIB org on Instagram, Twitter, currently X, formerly Twitter, and as well as Facebook, and then join the Hockey Players in Business LinkedIn. Just look up Hockey Players in Business on LinkedIn, join our LinkedIn group. Got a lot of good stuff going on there, so you can stay up to date on everything Hockey Players in Business. But that's all we got. Tyler and Kevin, thank you so much for being here. And we look forward to really getting this podcast going and having multiple more guests on the show and get into chat everything HPIB.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Tyler, thanks so much, man. You guys are killing it up in Cleveland. Keep up the good work.